Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Holly Nelson, a licensed professional counselor and sex and intimacy therapist based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Today's question is: can sex therapy help with sexual performance anxiety? And the short answer is yes, absolutely. This is one of the most common issues that I see in my practice. And so you are not alone, and there are many different solutions available to you. Performance anxiety occurs when worry, pressure, or fear about sex makes it harder to be present in the moment. So you may have a time where you're being intimate and you struggle to get an erection. And then the next time that it's time for you to be intimate again, you worry about if you'll be able to maintain or sustain an erection, which just becomes this vicious cycle because now you're in your head instead of being present in your body. And, when we treat sex like a test that either we pass or fail, that's when our bodies shut down. We have to be relaxed in order to stay aroused. Another way to think of it is when the brain goes into performance mode, it's hard for the body to stay in pleasure mode. And some other common things that men with this issue are thinking about are if they're lasting long enough, if they're pleasing their partner, or if they're doing sex the right way. So, really, you can see how performative sex can be for a lot of people. In sex therapy, we help people get out of their heads and back into their bodies. And one of the tools we often use is something called Sensate Focus. So, Sensate Focus is a series of mindfulness touch exercises that help couples with these types of issues slow down and take the focus off of performance and outcome and focus on pleasure, touch, sensation, and, just being curious about what we're experiencing in our bodies. And it helps us stay present in our bodies. And what we find is when people remove the goal of performing, their nervous system, which is how your brain and body respond to stress, we find that it can finally relax. And when the body relaxes, that's when your sexual arousal often returns naturally. Another powerful tool that I use in sex therapy is EMDR therapy, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a total mouthful. You don't need to remember it. But the important part is that EMDR was originally created for trauma, but researchers have found that it's incredibly helpful for many different issues, including sexual performance anxiety. And so, many men grow up with powerful cultural scripts about sex, like, a real man should always be ready for sex. You should be able to get an erection, just like that. You should always be able to satisfy your partner. You should be able to last a long time. If your body doesn't perform, then something's wrong with you. And, you can see how much pressure these beliefs create. And once a man or a penis owner has even one or two experiences where their body or their penis doesn't, respond or work the way that they had hoped, because our brains are so associative by nature, their brain can start forming a negative belief pattern, like I'm a failure. I'm not good at sex. I'm weak. I'm not manly enough. And EMDR helps people process these experiences and rewires the beliefs that they hold about themselves as a sexual being. So essentially, we're updating, your brain and body's blueprint for how it responds and approaches sex. So, for example, instead of, someone automatically thinking I'm not manly enough because they can't sustain an erection, um, their automatic default thought can be, I'm good enough as I am, or sex can be about connection, not pressure, or I don't have to perform to be worthy of intimacy. Another metaphor I really like to use to put these ideas into perspective is if you think of your brain as a snow covered hill, and every time you think something, it's like a sled going down one path. So if every time you go to have sex and you think, I'm weak, I'm a failure as a man, that pathway in the snow is getting very well defined. And so EMDR works as like the new snowfall. So it covers up the well defined pathways, and then it helps us forge those new ways of thinking that are more adaptive and just overall healthier ways of thinking and viewing ourselves in response to, our life experiences and circumstances. If you are someone who is struggling with sexual performance anxiety, please know that your body is not broken and you are definitely not alone. And that sex therapy can help you understand what's happening in your mind and body and challenge many of the pressure filled stories that many of us were taught. And it can help you create a more relaxed, connected, and pleasurable sex life for yourself as an individual and with a partner. And if you found this episode helpful, feel free to share it with someone who might need it too. And if you would like any of your own sex questions answered, please email me at sexwithholly@gmail.com and I will put those questions on the podcast. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Until next time, this is No Shame, All Play, signing off.